I think we can agree that everybody can sit down. And Pro Domino, 1 minute. Do we have an extra mic that we can pass around? I don't know how well everybody. Let's do that so we can pass it among the candidates. Or give them this one and I'll take that one. 1 minute, sir. Your introduction, Pro Domino, about why you should be the next congressperson from Congressional District 18.
Well, thank you very much. Since we began this race, we've spoken to the greatest challenge to our nation and our district is the creation of jobs. Let me briefly say 3 things that we've emphasized in our campaign. One is lowering taxes. In particular, there's $2 trillion overseas that needs to be brought home. It needs to be repatriated. It can only be done with tax policy. Secondly, we've got to get the government out of our daily affairs. We've got to cut business regulation, and we've got to eliminate Obamacare, or at least defund it. And thirdly, I've called myself since day one a constitutional conservative. It was a great 2 weeks for constitutional conservatives. But why do I think that's important? We have a Bill of Rights. They don't give us any rights from the government. We got the rights from the God we believe in. Every country in the world has a Bill of Rights. But if they don't exercise separation of powers, they are on the road to tyranny, and that's what I think we are.
Thank you very much, sir. We move on to Beverly Myers, Congressional District 18 candidate. Keeps sticking up and up and up as we speak. The U.S. national debt, $17 trillion and climbing. The debt per person is $55,000 per person, 300 some odd million people in the country. Social Security, one of the major unfunded liabilities, $15 trillion and climbing every second. Medicare, the unfunded liability, 79 and climbing. All of you talk about you want lower taxes. Simpson Bowles came up with a bipartisan approach, and most nonpartisan economists argue that if we're really going to be honest with each other, and we really care about cutting the national debt, it's going to have to be a combination for future retirees, not current, of restrictions or changes and limitations on Social Security and Medicare, less defense spending, and some combination of higher taxes. Virtually every nonpartisan economist says you can't get away from the fact that that's the tough medicine. So given that, given what all of you said, that you're tired of politicians who tell you what you want to hear, given that all of you said you're worried about the national debt, but the numbers I just quoted, I want to run down the list from this end to this on the congressional side, then we're going to go to some state issues. Which of you will acknowledge that it's going to take a combination of tough choices on Social Security, Medicare, defense, you name it, and on the tax side, some increased taxes somewhere, somehow, in order to balance the debt that we all say we're so worried about? Having said that, let's begin and let you hear the answers and the tough answers from the candidates. We'll go in the reverse domino, our final candidate, then we're going to jump to some state issues and we'll go back and forth, and I'm starting to get questions piling up, which we'll intersperse as well. Go ahead, Mr. Domino.
Well, I reject the concept that higher taxes produce higher tax revenues. I mean, at the extreme, let's go with a 100% tax rate and see how much revenues the government gets. Right. In fact, we need a pro-growth tax policy. We cannot continue to have the highest corporate taxes in the world. Companies are moving out. And things can be done. For example, I have been in the state, something called portability. Never said, well, that's going to kill the tax base. Well, the fact is more economic activity creates sales tax revenues. And many of those taxes they said were going to lose, they weren't getting anywhere because people couldn't afford to move. We need to have worldwide competitive rates. We need to bring some of that $2 trillion, and we need to understand that lower rates, in fact, can increase revenues. The way to get out of this is growth. We need to grow this economy at 4%, not the -3% we saw in the first quarter of this year.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, how many of you at the end of initial answers, and again, as I always say on our broadcast to the point, we're scratching the surface, but this is a very informed audience. I got to talk to a number of you before you started. How many of you begin to feel you're hearing any of the seeds of the kind of tough decisions in the answers you heard thus far? I'm not asking you to point out any specific candidate, but when you say the tough answers you think you need, raise your hands if you think you are beginning to hear in some of these answers the tough things that you're going to have to look in the eye for yourself or grandchildren, or the thing you were looking in the eye. How many thought you were beginning to hear the seeds of that? So we have some who do, many who don't. So 9 minutes worth of answers, and a lot of hands aren't going up feeling that for any congressional candidate, they heard the seeds of the tough answers for the debt that plagues this country. I'm merely going by the show of hands in the room. Something to consider. Florida Senate District 32. What do you define? We'll begin with the incumbent. Let me ask you, I think most people here are pretty familiar with what they don't like about the Affordable Care Act. I'd like to start with just a different twist. Very specifically, what is it in terms of what you'd like to see in terms of health care that you would do differently? We've all heard the criticisms about Affordable Care Act. What is your formulation to make sure Americans are getting the kind of health care they need and getting it in a robust way, that they're not denied coverage for pre-existing conditions and the like? Let's begin with you, Mr. Domino. How do you change the Affordable Care Act? If you repeal it, as you said you want to, what do you put in its place, if anything?
No American is denied coverage. The Affordable Care Act was a redistribution scheme that allowed people to buy insurance. If you are having a medical emergency today, you can go to the hospital, they have to stabilize you, you're not. What we need is to exploit the brilliance of our technologists in healthcare. We all know, for example, that 50 or 60 years ago we didn't have open heart surgery. Now we do, and many people in open heart live years. Some of the medications, some of the healthcare devices allow us not only to live longer, but better lives. We have the best healthcare system because of innovation, and the taxes, the 31 or so taxes in Obamacare, will stifle that. We certainly need to have special risk pools for people with very serious, diseases that can't get regular coverage. We certainly need to end the caps that say after $1 million you don't get reimbursed anymore. We should allow people to buy insurance from vendors from every state in the union, not their state. We should look at private healthcare saving account systems where you can build up some of the resources for yourself. But to throw the baby out with the bathwater as I don't know why they call it the Affordable Health Care, it's the Unaffordable Health Care Act.
Thank you very much.
It's not a good thing. Two quick things. Most of us as small business people want to provide what we can, but the state has so many mandates that the basic policies, I always believe you better have a Chevy than having to only have a Cadillac. Having any car is better. We need to look at the state mandates so that we can get the cost lower. But basically, we need to make for a more robust economy so those small businesses can increase their profits, which will allow them to provide health care.
Let's turn it back around to another issue about an earful on when I came in. All aboard Florida. I know a lot of you have concerns. Is that fair? Yeah. I'm hearing some yes here. Let me go down the table, your position on all aboard Florida, which is Miami to Orlando rail through the Treasure Coast, but no stop on the Treasure Coast. We have Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach stops. Some argue an burgeoning state. It's exactly what we need, more rail. Much like many other countries, Europe and so on have, and in a state approaching 19, soon to be 20 million people, good idea to connect to Orlando, Miami. Your take on it, Mr. Domino. We'll keep, let's so we can move along, keep 30 to 45 each. Go ahead, sir.
Well, of course, Orlando and Miami can be connected by air, by road, and by other lines. The problem is this thing started out as a private business enterprise, and then all of a sudden we found out they won $1.5 billion of taxpayers' money. Then we found out as we asked questions about ridership, about cost, they refused. In fact, they've gone to court to stop any display. And then finally, this is going through areas of population that choose not to want it for safety reasons, for environment reasons, for commercial reasons. I think the people have spoken out from day one since we investigated, we've been against it. It was not a private enterprise sponsored by public money. It didn't cross the intercoastal. But once again, educate yourself before you say, I voted for the Democratic governor. He was never a Democratic governor.
Let's move on to Mr. Thank you. And thank you all, by the way.
Can I talk about the immigrant? I should be allowed to answer that.
I'm thanking the audience, Mr. Domino.
Thank you.
By all means.
Just very briefly, if I've chosen to be the nominee of the Republican Party, I will focus like a laser beam on the Obama, Pelosi, Murphy open border policy. Look at the false hopes created by the DREAM Act. We have 60,000 children, as estimated, unaccompanied, trying to cross the border with what Calvin mentioned, disease. They were lured by a promise. You get across the line, you can not be deported. We need to go back to the principles of rule of law. There is an immigration policy in America. Every one of us benefited from that. That's the one that ought to be adhered to.
Mr. Domino, I believe you already answered on the topic. We'll let you answer with people. I'm being asked to start to wrap so that you all can come up and talk to the panelists, which I assume some of you would like to do. I'd like to first say it's so nice to be with a group of people who are as well informed and as eagle-eyed as you all are. And believe me, I've seen it like this lady, and I love it. And I'm sure they do too, and I think we do owe a huge round of applause to our panelists, all of them, for taking time to be here. I'd like to